I'm on the way up. That was the energy surrounding the announcement that Shedeur Sanders had secured an $80 million deal with Amiri, a luxury fashion house headquartered in Los Angeles with strong presence in Paris Fashion Week. The figure immediately circulated across sports and fashion media because endorsement deals at that valuation are typically reserved for established global icons with years of professional experience. Sanders had not yet completed a full professional season at the time the figure became public discussion. The $80 million Amiri agreement represented more than a standard apparel partnership. It aligned a high-profile American football quarterback with a European luxury brand known for runway collections, premium denim, and high-end tailoring. Reports highlighted his appearance on the runway in Paris, placing an active American football player inside one of the most influential fashion platforms in the world. That crossover moment drew attention from both the NFL audience and global fashion observers. This shocked both industries because elite runway positioning is traditionally associated with supermodels, actors, musicians, or long-retired athletes transitioning into lifestyle branding. Sanders appeared while still building his on-field professional resume. The announcement triggered debate about how quickly athlete branding power can expand in the digital era. The Amiri agreement was not structured as a basic promotional arrangement. It extended beyond sponsored posts or limited capsule collections. Sanders physically participated in European fashion events, positioning himself as part of the brand's cultural identity rather than a peripheral ambassador. Walking European high-fashion runways is historically rare for active American football quarterbacks. That participation signaled a deliberate expansion of his public identity beyond sport. The transition placed him in a category that merges professional athletics with global lifestyle branding. Luxury houses evaluate ambassadors based on market penetration, cultural visibility, demographic expansion, and revenue potential. Sanders carries measurable influence among younger American audiences, particularly within segments tied to football, hip-hop culture, and streetwear fashion. Amiri's leadership has previously emphasized its alignment with music and sports culture. Choosing Sanders positioned the brand directly inside American football's expanding youth market. This move reflected a broader luxury trend. Brands increasingly target athletes who bring built-in digital audiences and merchandise conversion rates. Sanders' influence extends beyond performance statistics. His social media engagement, merchandise sales performance, and youth demographic reach reflect measurable commercial power. He operates within the intersection of American black culture, football visibility, and luxury consumer markets. Luxury brands historically leaned heavily on European aristocratic aesthetics. In recent years, hip-hop, sports, and urban culture have significantly shaped global luxury consumption patterns. Sanders stands at the bridge between those domains: quarterback visibility on Saturdays and Sundays, designer appearances during fashion weeks. Authenticity remains central to athlete branding success. Luxury partnerships that appear forced often fail to generate sustained sales lift. Sanders' public persona, combining football confidence, fashion-forward presentation, and generational wealth messaging, aligns with the aspirational positioning luxury brands seek. Major fashion houses are increasingly pursuing athletes because athletes generate recurring seasonal visibility. Games, press conferences, tunnel walks, award ceremonies, and social media appearances provide consistent brand placement opportunities. Key cap for the $60 million Gatorade decision. Before discussions of equity surfaced, reports indicated that Gatorade presented a proposal valued at $60 million over 3 years. For many athletes, a guaranteed 8-figure beverage contract represents a straightforward acceptance. However, Sanders' team reportedly structured the agreement differently. Rather than focusing solely on cash compensation, the negotiation included an equity clause tied to company performance. The sports beverage sector operates within a multi-billion-dollar market. Gatorade remains one of the dominant brands in U.S. sports hydration, with distribution across professional leagues, collegiate programs, and youth athletics. Instead of prioritizing maximum upfront salary, Sanders explored ownership positioning within the agreement framework. The structure reportedly included 3% ownership of Gatorade USA operations. Ownership percentages in large consumer brands can translate into substantial long-term valuation growth depending on revenue performance and market share stability. Gatorade operates under PepsiCo, a publicly traded corporation generating billions in annual revenue. Equity participation in a high-revenue consumer brand creates potential appreciation beyond fixed endorsement payouts. Short-term wealth from salary provides immediate liquidity. Equity, however, can compound over time if revenue grows. Ownership aligns incentives between ambassador and brand performance. The difference between a guaranteed $60 million payout and equity participation depends on long-term projections. If revenue trends remain stable or increase, percentage-based ownership could surpass fixed compensation totals. Equity arrangements among athletes have grown more common in technology startups and beverage brands, but securing a reported 3% stake in a major sports hydration brand represents a high-level negotiation outcome. If revenue growth continues and ownership valuations appreciate, discussions have emerged regarding long-term billionaire potential. Comparisons have surfaced referencing athletes such as Michael Jordan and LeBron James, whose wealth accumulation expanded through equity, brand ownership, and diversified investments. Becoming a billionaire while still playing professional football would represent a significant shift in athlete wealth timelines. Historically, most billionaire athletes accumulated wealth after retirement through brand equity growth. Revenue trends, endorsement portfolio expansion, and equity stakes would determine such projections. The concept itself reflects a broader shift in how athletes structure financial negotiations. This model changes the blueprint. Instead of accepting maximum guaranteed endorsement salaries, athletes may pursue ownership percentages, licensing stakes, and revenue-sharing agreements tied to product performance. Before playing a professional snap, Sanders reportedly signed endorsement commitments valued at approximately $125 million. Such pre-professional totals generated skepticism across sports commentary platforms. Critics questioned whether brand valuation exceeded on-field certainty. Media discussion centered on risk versus reward. However, brand executives often calculate value based on audience conversion rates, merchandise velocity, and long-term visibility metrics. Companies do not allocate nine-figure commitments without forecasting measurable returns. Sanders' collegiate exposure, social following, and merchandise sales history likely factored into those projections. Pre-professional brand positioning has increased in the nil era, where collegiate athletes can monetize likeness rights before entering professional leagues. Reports indicated that Nike held a contract framework valued at $250 million over 4 years, tied to active professional status. Upon activation of the active player clause, the contract reportedly doubled from its initial baseline valuation. A 4-year, $250 million structure positions the agreement among the largest apparel contracts linked to a quarterback at early career stages. The structure reportedly included a 50% share of jersey sales revenue, a historically high percentage compared to traditional athlete royalty splits. Activation clauses often hinge on roster status, performance triggers, or league participation milestones. Once triggered, the valuation escalated immediately. Nike maintains long-standing partnerships with elite quarterbacks and global athletes. The reported figure underscored Sanders' projected merchandise conversion potential. Within early sales cycles, reports circulated that approximately 375,000 rookie jerseys were sold. Rookie merchandise velocity often correlates with draft position, media exposure, and team market size. Despite not being selected in the first round, Sanders' merchandise performance reportedly outpaced multiple higher draft picks. Draft position does not always determine commercial strength. Brand power, social media following, and collegiate fan base continuity can influence early merchandise demand. Highest earner status among rookies can derive from endorsement stacking rather than solely NFL contract value. This divergence between draft slot and commercial earnings illustrated the evolving relationship between league performance metrics and brand economics. Beyond apparel and beverage partnerships, Sanders expanded into diversified ventures. Reports reference the launch of a personal apparel line, aligning with fashion positioning strategies. He also introduced a branded barbecue sauce product, entering the consumer packaged goods market. Athlete-branded food products have historically performed well when distribution and marketing align. Partnership involvement with EA Sports placed him inside sports gaming ecosystems, further expanding youth demographic reach. A collaboration reference with the Brady brand, associated with Tom Brady, connected Sanders to an established athlete lifestyle portfolio. Diversification reduces dependency on a single income stream. Apparel, beverages, gaming, and food product licensing collectively form a multi-channel revenue structure. Public interviews have referenced his focus on ownership and long-term vision. Discussions have centered on building generational wealth rather than maximizing immediate contracts. Statements have emphasized resource allocation for future generations and sustained brand infrastructure. Ownership over quick money has become a recurring theme in modern athlete negotiations. Equity positioning creates asset accumulation rather than solely income generation. Generational wealth planning includes trusts, brand licensing control, and equity stakes that extend beyond active playing years. European fashion historically maintained dominance through legacy houses and aristocratic aesthetics. Over the last 2 decades, hip-hop artists and professional athletes have significantly influenced purchasing trends. Luxury consumption patterns increasingly reflect urban influence and sports culture integration. Sanders' presence at the intersection of culture and fashion illustrates that athlete branding in 2025 operates differently than previous eras. Digital visibility accelerates crossover potential. Social media platforms allow athletes to reach global audiences without relying exclusively on league broadcasting exposure. Know your worth. Bet on yourself. Equity exceeds salary when structured strategically. Diversify income across industries. Maintain authenticity in brand alignment. Ownership creates leverage. Long-term positioning outpaces short-term payouts. Brand value can exceed draft value. Equity compounds over time. Visibility must translate into assets. Athletes can negotiate beyond traditional structures. Cultural influence carries commercial weight. Pre-professional monetization is now possible. Is this the future of athlete endorsements? Could an active quarterback realistically reach billionaire status while still playing? Does equity ownership represent the next phase of sports business evolution? Will more athletes demand percentage stakes over guaranteed salaries? How will luxury brands continue integrating sports figures into global fashion platforms? The financial structures surrounding Shedeur Sanders reflect measurable shifts in athlete-brand relationships, equity negotiations, and cross-industry positioning.